Good morning dear students and welcome to Genesis. This is my third lecture on the chapter Chemical Coordination in Plants, and in this lecture we are mainly going to cover tropic movement. Tropic movement का मतलब क्या है? Let us first understand. This is that kind of a directional growth or movement which happens towards the direction of the stimuli. मतलब सोचो आपको किसी ने जोर से चूटी काटी आपके लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में और आपने घूम के लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में ही उसे एक थप्पड़ मारा, तो ये बन गया आपका डायरेक्शनल मूवमेंट टुवर्ड्स द स्टिमुली. So ऐसे ही movements we also get to see in plants, and that is why we call them tropic movement. That means plants though do not show bodily movement, but they show movement in this way. Now every movement which is shown by the plant is definitely triggered by some stimuli, and depending upon the stimuli हम उस movement को एक special नाम देते हैं. So let us quickly see what are the different kinds of movements that we are going to study in this chapter. I have made two columns. एक column में I am going to write down the names of the stimuli, and here I will write down the names of the movement. So number one, the first one is sunlight or light. It should not be sunlight, it's a source of light. इसके basis पे when the plant shows movement towards the direction of the sunlight, then that movement is known as Phototropism. The second stimulus is gravity. So when plant shows movement towards gravity, हम उस movement को कहते हैं geotropism. Third is water. इसे कहा जाता है Hydrotropism. Fourth one is chemicals. That means stimulus है chemical, and this is known as Thigmotropism. So अब तक जो four tropic movements I have mentioned, they are seen in almost all the plants. Now the movements that I am going to mention, they are specific to some specific plants. So one of which is touch. There are certain plants which respond or show movement to touch. So that movement is known as Thigmotropism. Then there is another special type of movement which is again towards the sun. That means towards the direction of the sun. That is known as Heliotropism. All in all, we are going to study these in details. So we'll study Phototropism, Geotropism, Hydrotropism, Chemotropism, Thigmotropism and Heliotropism. So the first one is phototropism. Phototropism, definitely the stimulus is light. Now this can be sunlight or any source of light. Why did I say this? For example, in this condition, I kept a jar which has a plant in it, and I have kept it near some window or from any opening through which sun rays can come. What you can see is, if you keep the entire setup in a dark room or dark condition and you only keep one window open through which sunlight can come, you are going to see that the shoot of the plant is bending towards the direction of the sun. This clearly shows that the part which is above the soil is positively phototropic. That means it always moves towards the direction of the sun. Similarly, a basic example of a plant which is planted, I'm not keeping it in a jar, it's just there in the soil, and you are going to see that the root always grows downwards and the shoot always grows upwards. Why is this? Because the shoot has positive phototropism. That means the cells of the stem region, they are positively phototropic. That means they grow towards the direction of the light, whereas the root is negatively phototropic. That means it grows away from sunlight. So you can do this experiment, or otherwise also when you go outside and you see that of course the stem is always positively phototropic and the root is negatively phototropic. In the second type of movement, which is called geotropism, the stimulus is gravity. So, as we see in most of the plants, the roots are positively geotropic. That is why they always have a tendency of growing downwards. They don't grow upwards towards sunlight. And the shoot is instead negatively geotropic because it always grows away from the gravity or opposite to the gravity. Now, if this has to be proved, then one very good example or experiment to do this is you take a plant and you just tilt the pot and keep it as it is for some time. What do you see after some days is this stem, instead of growing straight, it starts to bend towards the direction of the sun, and the roots, instead of growing straight, they tend to bend down towards the direction of the gravity. So this clearly shows that roots are always positively geotropic and shoot of the stem is negatively geotropic. There is another set of example that can be given with the help of an experiment. For this we use a device which is known as clinostat. Clinostat is where you basically use a rotator and it remains attached to the pot. So basically you can constantly rotate the pot. In condition A, we are not doing anything. We keep the setup as it is. And when you keep the setup as it is just what you see here. The root will definitely have a tendency to grow downwards towards gravity, and the stem will grow away, opposite to the direction of the gravity. So in whichever direction the root grows, opposite to that the stem is going to grow. But in the second case, there is a difference. In the second case, we are basically rotating this rod which is attached to the pot, as a result of which every part of the plant body is getting exposed to the gravity. That is why now the roots do not grow towards the direction of gravity because it's constantly getting rotated. So every part of the root is getting exposed to the gravity. And same goes with the stem. Because the root is growing straight, the stem will also grow straight because now the stem is also getting exposed to sunlight. Every part of the leaf is getting exposed to light or sunlight, and that is why it will not bend specifically to any particular direction of the light here. So it is growing straight. Third type of movement, hydrotropism, the stimulus is water. So the plant roots, they always grow towards the direction of the water. This is how and you know, people in ancient days वो इसी आइडिया को यूज करते थे to track the source of water. Roots के डायरेक्शन को देख के आपको पता चल सकता है कि water का source आसपास कौन से डायरेक्शन में है. To understand this, there is an excellent experiment. In this experiment, what we have done is we have taken a wire netting, and in this wire netting we have put sawdust, but mind you it's a moist sawdust, और इसमें हमने germinating seed रख दिया है, and we are observing the condition. So first initial condition is A and then next condition is B. So in the first condition we see a general growth pattern where the plumule which will grow into the stem and the leaves will always grow upwards towards the direction of the sunlight. And what is expected from the radicle which will develop into the root? It will grow towards the direction of the gravity, so it hangs downwards proper. Lekin after some days what we find is this radicle, instead of growing down further, it takes upward turn. ऐसा क्यों? प्लूम्यूल तो प्रॉपर ग्रो कर रहा है, इसने सडनली क्यों एक अपवर्ड टर्न लिया? बिकॉज रूट्स आर सपोज टू ग्रो टुवर्ड्स द डायरेक्शन ऑफ द वाटर फॉर सर्वाइवल. ग्रेविटी के लिए तो ऑफ कोर्स इट इज कमिंग डाउनवर्ड्स, बट इफ इट कैन नॉट फाइंड वाटर देन इट हैज टू मूव इन द डायरेक्शन ऑफ द वाटर. एंड क्योंकि सॉडस्ट मॉइस्ट है, दैट मीन्स इट हैज वाटर, दैट इज व्हाई द रूट्स देन अपटर्न एंड स्टार्ट टू मूव अपवर्ड्स. सो दिस क्लियरली shows that roots they will always grow towards the direction of the water. अगर वो towards gravity है, definitely it is going to grow downwards, but if it is not, then it will go to that direction, in that direction where it gets a source of water. The next type of movement, chemotropism, definitely stimulus chemicals. कौन से केमिकल्स कहाँ हैं ये, ऐसे एग्जाम्पल्स हमें कहाँ मिलते हैं? These are very common in all the flowers. किसी भी फ्लावर में जब एक पोलन ग्रेन आके सेटल करता है, then the first thing it does is it starts to grow a tube-like structure which is called pollen tube. The question is, अगर ये pollen tube grow करता है, why does it always grow downwards? ऐसा क्यों नहीं कि pollen tube ऊपर की तरफ grow कर गया हो? This does not happen because the plant or the flower has a method of giving direction to the pollen tube. What is that method? This tip of the flower, which is the stigma, produces a sweet chemical which is very, very nutritious, and on consumption of this chemical the pollen grain can grow pollen tube. So the pollen grain will grow towards the direction of that sweet chemical. So the chemical is the stimulus which is causing the pollen tube to grow downwards. So chemotropism is a very, very common sight seen in all the plants. This is happening every time when the pollen tube grows inside a flower. Type of movement, thigmotropism, the stimulus is touch. So in this, the plant body part will show movement towards the direction of the touch. This is mostly seen in plants which have weak stem, and usually they will always coil around the support which is given to them. So in both the cases you will see there is a support around which the tendrils are coiling. Now tendrils are of two types. They can be modification of stem. The example is given here, stem tendril. A very good example of a stem tendril is cuscuta, which is given in your book. Similarly, there are some plants where the leaf is modified as tendril. So these are called leaf tendrils. Example, sweet pea. This is also given in the book, and there is one more example given in the book which is vine. Vine means grape. So there are total 3 examples, cuscuta, sweet pea and vine as per our syllabus, and you need to remember that these all, the similarity between the two, they have weak stem, that is why they need support to grow. In one case the stem is modified as a tendril, and as soon as it comes in contact with the support, it gets that stimulus of touch and it starts to coil around that stimulus. Similarly, in this case, the leaf is modified in the form of a tendril, and as soon as it comes in contact with the support, it coils around it for, standing erect. So in both the cases you see, it is the touch which is acting like stimulus. This type of movement is heliotropism, and remember this is seen in very few flowers, one of which is sunflower. As per your syllabus, you need to remember this name, but there is one more example like marigold, then daisy, they also show heliotropism. Now here, how is heliotropism different from phototropism? In case of phototropism, the stem was always moving towards the direction of the light, okay, be it sunlight or be it general source of light. But in this case, it is specifically moving towards the direction of the sun. So the sunflowers, the flowers initially up in the morning, they face towards east because the sun rises in the east. The sun is about to set in the west, they also move the direction, as in the flower then faces from east to west. Why do they do this? They do this to maximize the exposure of sunlight. So वो start करेंगे ईस्ट की तरफ फेस करना, एंड बाय इवनिंग वो वेस्ट की तरफ फेस करते हैं. सो दिस इज हाउ इट इज डिफरेंट. ये फोटोट्रोपिज्म में नहीं होता है, ये स्पेसिफिकली हेलियोट्रोपिज्म में होता है. लेकिन इन दोनों एग्जांपल्स को आई विल टेक एंड आई विल एक्सप्लेन यू एग्जैक्टली होता क्या है. सो लेट्स टेक एग्जांपल ऑफ अ प्लांट जिसका सन रेज का एक्सपोजर इज फ्रॉम हैपनिंग फ्रॉम दिस डायरेक्शन. वेदर यू टॉक अबाउट फोटोट्रोपिज्म और हेलियोट्रोपिज्म, दोनों में मैकेनिज्म एक है. The sun rays directly fall on one side of the stem. So सोचो ये वाला जो part है of the stem, let's call it A, which is directly getting the sunlight, and the part of the stem which is right opposite to it, let's call it B. So what happens, that part of the stem which is directly getting the sun rays will not show any changes, but the part which is not getting the sun rays directly, which is opposite. So here in this case the part B, यहाँ जो cells हैं they are going to show a change. What is the change? They are going to elongate. That means these cells are going to show cell elongation. Now cell elongation क्यों होता है ये हम लोग को ऑलरेडी पता है. It is because of a phytohormone. What is the name of that phytohormone? Auxin. So auxin immediately comes and accumulates at this area and causes elongation of the cell. अब जब यहाँ के cells elongate हो जाते हैं, easily that stem can bend towards the direction of the sun and it bends further towards the direction of the sun. सनफ्लावर के साथ भी एक ही चीज होता है. जब सन रे सनफ्लावर पे गिरते हैं, द पार्ट ऑफ द स्टेम विच इज गेटिंग एक्सपोज्ड, उसमें कोई चेंजेस नहीं होता. द ऑपोजिट पार्ट ऑफ द स्टेम शोज सेल्यूलर एलोंगेशन एंड द सनफ्लावर एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ विच मूव्स टुवर्ड्स द डायरेक्शन ऑफ द सन. सो अगर वो ईस्ट में है तो ईस्ट, जब वेस्ट में हो जा रहा है जस्ट इसका ऑपोजिट होगा एंड इट्स गोइंग टू मूव टुवर्ड्स वेस्ट. इन बोथ द केसेस व्हाट यू नीड टू रिमेंबर इज द नेम ऑफ द फाइटोहार्मोन विच इज प्लेइंग the main role. So वो phototropism हो या heliotropism हो, it is because of a phytohormone. And you also have to remember it does not get accumulated in that part of the stem which is directly getting sunlight, rather to that part which is indirectly getting sunlight or which is opposite to it, and there it causes cellular elongation helping the stem to bend. So with this we kind of finish this chapter. Now I will not post any more chapters. For 1 week we are going to do revision of all the chapters that we have done from plant physiology, and then we are going to start animal physiology. Keep revising. Take care of yourself. Thank you.